And we are live.
Okay. So this is Hal Morris, and I want to call the meeting to order at 7:05 and ask for roll to be taken.
Certainly. Member Hickey? Member Hickey?
Yeah.
Thank you. Member McCandless?
Here.
Member Rissig?
I'm here.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Member Tackett?
Here.
Thank you. Chair Morris?
Here.
Member Silva? And we have a quorum with Member Silva absent this evening.
Great. Let's go ahead and do Pledge of Allegiance. I know we don't have a flag, but I will go ahead and start. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it
stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It sounds funny when we do it like that. All the sounds like a big old echo chamber we're in. Let's go ahead and county do introductions, please.
Certainly, and on to announcements. This meeting is live streamed and temporarily closed to in-person public participation. The clerk's office is in the process of hosting hybrid public meetings that will provide board members and members of the public with the option to participate in the meeting in person, either in person or remotely. Thank you for your patience and support. Please call ahead of time and dial 916-875-2501 to provide your contact information to make a verbal comment at today's meeting. When the chair opens public comment for a specific agenda item or off-agenda matter, callers will be contacted by phone and transferred into the meeting to make their public comment. Written comments are always accepted. Send your email comment to boardclerk@saccounty.net. Your comment will be routed to the board and filed in the record.
Great. Also, county staff, is there anybody here other than CPAC members?
Yes, so my name is Rochelle from Clerk of the Board. We also have Nate Dobrnik from Planning, and we have Jessica Brandt from Planning as well.
Great. Okay. If we go ahead and call the first planning project, which is PLNP 2020-00302, the 7345 16th Street Parcel Map. And we probably have some information from the county to hear first.
Prior to the first item, I just wanted to remind the public that to call ahead of time if you want to make a verbal comment at this evening's meeting, please dial 916-875-2501 to provide your contact information, and thank you. Item one is 7345 16th Street Parcel Map. It's located at 7345 16th Street in the Rio Linda, Alberta community. Request is for a tentative parcel map, special development permit, and design review.
Okay. The county have anything information on it other than that right now?
Rochelle, this is Nate with the planner. Do you run the slideshow or do I? Forgive me for asking this, as we've already started.
So we have clerk of the board. So we have James Kirsten, who is deputy clerk, and he will be presenting.
Great.
So Nate, just let them know when to change the slides.
Fantastic. Thank you. All right, we can begin, I suppose, unless there's other general comment.
Sounds good.
Nope,
Thank you,
go
Nate.
ahead.
Okay. Mr. Kirsten, could you begin the slideshow, please?
Yes, it's up right now.
All right, forgive me here, but I'm not seeing it. What button do I need to push on our Blue Jeans platform to make that evident?
Let me see. I will stop sharing the screen and then reshare the screen. It should bring it up.
I see the three choices at the bottom, but that seems to be the gallery view.
And Nate, you don't have the gallery view up completely, right? You have the little pie chart over to the right. You hover down there.
Probably it if I knew where to click. Oh, there it is. There we go. All right, fantastic.
Yay!
The pie chart gave it all away, so thank you for that. All right. Thank you, Rio Linda, Alberta Community Council members for making time tonight. We've mentioned the project a few times. I would like to note that it was properly noticed, and today we did receive 6 emails regarding public comment all on this project. And I believe those were all forwarded to all of the council members present tonight. Location here is the 16th Street. It's about a 7.8 acre parcel along 16th Street. Next slide, please. The surrounding area is all agricultural residential 2-acre lots on average. It is worthwhile noting that there are a variety of lots along U Street, 16th Street, a few on 14th, that are below the 2-acre, probably legacy ones, but for the current code, that is the requirement. Next slide, please. The site history, for those who've been here a long time, they've probably seen more changes than not, but from 1937, some of those trees are still here. 16th Street looks like it was even smaller than it is now. First structure did appear, as far as I could tell, around 1953, and it is important to note those lot lines are the current configuration. Next slide, please. This is the classic Google Street View, mostly undeveloped. You can see that 16th Street is just the 2-lane road. The oak trees in the background, unfortunately, are underneath the power and telecom lines, so they have been topped repeatedly. That's why they appear stunted in comparison to some of the other large oak trees. Overall, most of the site is disturbed, fairly flat, with a few trees around the perimeter and a couple near the development that you see right underneath that green box with the call-in number. Next slide, please. The proposal itself would take the about 7.8 acre lot and apportion that into 4 lots. The design review to comply with all the county design guidelines, and importantly is the special development permit. And that is an allowance that would allow the subdivided lots to be less than 2 acres. You see from the first chart on the left that's labeled lot area, all of the lots are within 3% of 2 acres, but each is, mathematically at least, below the 2-acre minimum. Additionally, the lot width, you can see it's a little closer within 1.3 or 1.5% of the 130-foot distance required for the frontage there. Next slide, please. This is Mr. Razimovich's, he's present today, the agent, the proposed parcel map. Overall, the larger dark rectangle represents the major parcel. You can see the horizontal lines dividing up the lot into 4 areas. The green circles represent trees to keep. Fairly hard to see are the 6 little gray ones along 16th Street. Again, those are the ones below the power and telecom lines. That yellow diagonal is the power tower easement that crosses most of the county. And the little pink triangles would be the proposed driveways. And that orange tone would be a future dedication for potential road widening. Next slide, please. Talked about the trees a couple times, and it is important to note that the entire site was surveyed by a certified arborist, and the 6 trees to be removed, you'll see that R and the arborist ratings here all have major structural health problems. And again, oak trees don't do well when they get topped, and none of them are ever going to achieve a full canopy just because of that location below the telecom and power line. So they end up forming sort of a Y shape and weakening as a result. Next slide, please. Importantly as well is, as a condition of approval, the Sacramento County Department of Transportation would require a dedication to Class A. This was explained at length in the CPAC packet regarding that 16th Street is designated in the general plan as an arterial. And that means at some far distant future, the same way Sunrise and Greenback used to be small roads and now they're major roads, 16th Street is envisioned to be an arterial that would be 6 lanes with a center median. However, at this time, other than the dedication, the improvements would be to a Class D, sort of an interim step, and that is a condition of approval by DOT. And it's important to note also that would only be the western portion, that is the left side of that red dashed line, would be improved to those standards, and again, only for the frontage of that property. 600 plus feet would get improved, and then it would be back to the normal road. And this is how development does occur, piecemeal, until such time as there's either enough development or some other projects that would require all of 16th Street to get converted, but that would be a condition of approval for this project. Next slide. That concludes the staff overall presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions or comments you might have. I do note that the agent is present as well, and this diagram does represent an aerial view of the site with the proposed lot lines and then driveways there as a common reference point. At that, I turn it back over to the community council members. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to the proponent or agent slash for any input that he may have before I go to the council members. Richard, good to see you, kind of. Please add anything that you would like to.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the Advisory Council, my name is Richard Rozimovich. We are the project engineers for the proposed parcel split. And thank you, Nate. You did a very good job. You really did a lot of the work that I was going to do. So there's a couple of things that I'd like to point out is that we did prepare a couple of alternatives. The owner would prefer the exhibit that is in front of you. We could have one private drive that would come in with a emergency turnaround and have 4 parcels that would meet all of the width requirements with the exception of the lot area. And the lot area in the zoning code, in one of the sections, it allows you to reduce, as long as you don't reduce more than 10% of the required lot area, and we meet that. If you actually use the entire 10% reduction, each one of the lots would be 1.8 acres gross. We're proposing 1.97. As Nate explained, we're within a couple of percent. I had some conversations with transportation, and I'm a little bit disturbed that even though this is going to be a major arterial, and it's really a countywide project that'll happen sometimes in the future, transportation is telling me that, well, it's not that bad, Richard. You can go with the type D, like in dog improvements, but we'd have to widen the pavement. The structural section for the pavement widening is 5.5 inches of AC and 20.5 inches of aggregate base. The total structural section that the property owner would have to develop is about 26 inches of pavement, and there's also a pathway that would be a separated pathway and to be honest, the pathway would not go anywhere. There are no improvements at all within the immediate area, with the exception of the improvements at the northeast corner of 16th and U Street. And those properties are in RD5. They do have some improvements, but those are the only improvements that come close to this project. There are provisions to allow for a deferred improvement agreement, which basically states that the property owners sign an agreement that if and when the improvements are required, that they would participate. They would not object to those improvements. And again, I'm going to plead my case to the Subdivision Review Committee, and hopefully the Department of Transportation will change their mind, because there are provisions in the county code, and as a matter of fact, there is a countywide section that was put together, and it basically said that the county does want to encourage infill and also provide housing. And if I can quote this, the county code 12.03.05 provides time deferred of improvements when less than 50% of the street frontage is within a quarter mile of the project is improved, or if the costs are equal or greater than 20% of the fair market value. It's my belief that we meet those conditions, and a deferred improvement agreement is in order. And the only other thing I've got to add is that I did review the 6 letters that were submitted. I did receive those this afternoon. So what I did is I quickly did a 1,500-foot radius map that surrounds our subject property. And I don't know if it's by accident or it is what it is, but within that 1,500-foot radius, there's a total of 92 parcels. Believe it or not, exactly 50%, 46 of them are 2 acres or larger, and 46 parcels are less than the 2 acres, and they range from a quarter of an acre all the way up to just less than 2 acres. So the only other thing I can add is that we are going to provide for private sewer disposal and individual wells. We will meet all the requirements from the health department, meet the setback requirements. The requirements are that you need to be the wells have to be 150 feet away from the leach pit, and they have to be 100 feet away from the septic tank. We have ample room to provide all those distances. So I think the map is straightforward. And if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them. And if not, hopefully you approve the map as submitted.
Okay, thank you very much, Richard. Let me go down the line to the council members, and I'll start with Chris. Do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Okay, so first, of those lots that you have found are less than 2 acres, how many of them are in the agri zone, first of all, and how long have they been those size lots? I mean, were they grandfathered into this area? Were they broken up a long time ago? I just want a little bit of history on those lots.
Okay. I can give you that history. So there are 5 lots at the northeast corner of U and 16th Street, and those properties are RD5. Then there's also several lots over to the west of 18th Street and U Street, and 3 of the lots are RD3. So those would meet the current zoning codes, and in general, what we have found is that Orangevale, Rio Linda, Carmichael, and Fair Oaks has a large mixture of various size lots, even though they don't conform with the zoning code. So they're really non-conforming lots. I don't know if I answered your question, but yeah, most of these that are smaller were probably created in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s until the Subdivision Map Act was enacted in March of 1972. Then you actually had to submit for a parcel map, which is what we're submitting, or a subdivision map. And obviously at that time, you would have to meet the zoning code requirements or ask for an exception or a variance.
Okay,
Can I
thank you.
inject something here? This is
Roy?
Hickey. Can I inject something?
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I was on the planning council in another lifetime.
Yep.
When these originally was all zoned back many years ago, when the community was in an uproar, when they wanted to maintain the agricultural aspect and large lots in this area, Rio Linda, Alberta area. So when we went through this plan, there was a lot of community input, very much a community input, that it was desirable, emphatically, that this community remain rural and agricultural. So when we went through the planning back at that time, we looked at all these lots and how they were planned. And the way you can see the subject lots here, the subject parcel here, many of those was subdivided like almost 100 years ago by the fruit company that's going to sell them all as orchards. That didn't work out. We know that went to eggs. But anyway, as a result, over the years, we had many lots in this area that was subdivided and they were split on the frontage in long, narrow, deep lots, which are not practical at all. And that switched to going back and putting long driveways and splitting the properties in the back to give them road access. So all of the lots that you're seeing that are in the AR2 zoning or a little larger AR5 that are much smaller than what the zoning calls for were done and subdivided before we did the community zoning many years ago. And these were all left intact as being, yes, they're under the current zoning code, but they're all grandfathered in so that they could not be further split. So that's where we're at now. And okay, I'll just knock it off right now, but I have some more comments later. But that's why you have so many small lots in the area that were grandfathered in when we did the zoning to keep this rural agricultural area.
Right. Thank you, Roy. Chris, do you have any more
Yes.
questions? Okay.
I have several. Thank you. So with that being said, the properties that are surrounding these proposed 4 parcels, it looked like only one of them was pretty narrow. The rest looked like they were larger than the 2-acre parcel requirement. Even directly across the street, the ones lining the back sides of the properties, and then to the north of the property line. I just want to, I guess, confirm that they are all still the larger parcels and not, I don't know if you can understand what I'm saying or if I'm coming across clear or not, but I'm just trying to, if we can go back to the neighboring map. I think one of the slides showed the neighborhood. I understand that to the northeast is a RD5, but that is at least a quarter mile, if not more, away from these directly affected parcels. Okay, see,
Okay,
it looks
I
like
understand it. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
it's okay. To me, it looks like there is all the parcels directly affected by this parcel split are all bigger parcels.
So,
And only one of them would be as narrow of a rectangle as you're proposing.
so
But what,
we
Chris,
need,
what's the
we
question
need to
though?
look at, pardon me?
No, I just wondered what was the question. Is that just a comment or do you have a question out of that?
I had one, but I think I lost it in there somewhere. We were
No, you had a
discussing.
question. Let me jump in here. You did have a question, a very valid question. So, and this is the problem with these Zoom meetings or Blue Jay meetings. I want to get back so we can see one another and I can have my exhibits here, because the exhibit that I put together this afternoon, the parcels to the west of 16th Street, the parcels along 16th Street, yes, there are a couple of large parcels. Ours is one of them. As a matter of fact, ours is the largest. The next one to the north looks like that's about the second largest. And then as you go to the south and to the north, the parcels mimic very much what we're proposing. And really, if you look at the zoning code, it doesn't make any sense to me when you apply that you want to have 150 feet of frontage. If you look at the old record maps, most of the maps were done to sell to ranchers, farmers, and the old Spanish land grants. They were all 660 by 660. So the 2 acre zoning is really 132 feet wide by 660. That gives you a 2 acre parcel. So there's a lot of parcels that are narrow and just slightly over 2 acres to the north, to the south. And if you take a look to the west of our west line, most of those parcels are all about 132 by 660, 140, 150. They vary in width. And there's one map that was done in 1979. Let me get that up on my screen. In 1979, that is directly to the west on 14th Street. And all those parcels are 1.2 acres gross. So one of the folks that just spoke earlier, they had some history. I thought the general plan update took place somewhere in about 78, 77. So I don't know how this parcel was created, or these 4 parcels were created, but they're only 1.2 acres in size. It's my professional opinion that we meet the requirements, will fit in the general context of the community. And I think by having the lots that are 130, 132 feet wide, 660 feet, that's going to be in keeping with the agricultural context, because you can put your house somewhere and you can have agricultural in front of the property, in front of your house, or in the back of it, rather than just having a rectangle and having the agricultural surrounding your house. I hope I answer your question, but you need to look at a big map. And if you look at the map, you'll see that most of the properties to the west are all ranging from 150 to 120 by 660. The parcels on the east side of 16th Street are a little bit larger. So I don't know what else to tell you.
That's okay. I think you've covered it pretty
Thank
well.
you.
Although I do want to say that even though these parcels are older and they've already been split like that, and you believe that it's in line with what we've already got, it is our community's desire to have these be 2 acre parcels, and we can't lose sight of that. I mean, I understand you're very close to that 2 acres. However, we have guidelines that we want to stick with, And in order for our community to not become something we don't want it to be. I just wanted to put that out there. My next question would be, with these arterial road setbacks that you have, setback is the incorrect word, but with the amount of property that the county is requiring for the arterial road, how much the lot size do you lose? I mean, is it the 1.9 acres of usable land, or is it now going to be 1.75?
Well, it'll be slightly less, but what you have to understand that in the ag zoning, the zoning, it goes by gross. So the road will take some of that area away, but the area that you count is the gross, not the net. Not like if you go on an RD5 where you have to have 5,200 square feet of net area, which excludes the road. In the ag zone, the zoning code says AR1 is gross. It takes into account the road.
That seems a little wonky to me. Something I'll have to look at.
Pardon me?
That seems a little wonky to me, that one would be okay and not the other.
But we need to have Nate chime in to substantiate what I'm saying.
Okay, Nate, do you want to, anything you have to say there on that?
In terms of Chairman McCandless's question regarding, what would be the net, regardless of the point of, gross versus net, those calculations weren't done. I don't know the answer to that, but in terms of the dedication, you already have an easement on there from the power tower. So there is usable space. There's the gross space per Mr. Rovis' point, and then the overall allowance for each subdivision being roughly 2 acres.
Okay, now wait a minute. We can't. We really got to understand this. Could you bring the tentative map back up, Nate?
James, can you go to the map itself, not the aerial?
Yes, 1 minute. I forgot what side it was on. Let me know when you see it.
I think a couple more. Didn't see it. Where'd it go?
We'll keep going down. We'll find it.
There. Got it.
Okay, there we go. Sorry.
So wow. Because we do have the net calculations, which excludes the road, and we have the gross, which includes the road. So I don't think this is the correct drawing. I just have this is crazy.
Richard, do you have one that shows the net for the entirety of the arterial width? Is what you're saying? No. Did it lose him?
Yeah, the map we're referring to here on the screen is the revision 4. Mr. Rovo just mentioned that this was the sort of latest and greatest and the preferred layout by the property owner.
I believe there was a map presented, an alternative plan map that I did see net numbers on. It was divided into 4 quadrants, not along the horizontal. Each parcel was more of a square instead of a rectangle.
Yes, there were, Nate with planning, there were 3 previous iterations. Because of the driveway requirements, this was the most recent submittal, and thus the one that was presented this evening. Per the agent's point, this was the preferred by the property owner.
So it looks like the net acreage is about 1.88 0.85, 1.9, 1.88. So there's, it's a tenth of an acre about that they lose with that arterial right of way.
That is correct, but you need to understand that the zoning code says that we use the gross area, not the net.
Oh, sure. Yeah. She was just asking about what the net does actually come out to.
Okay.
So, and that was it.
And
Also, the zoning
okay,
code says AR2, not AR 1.9 or 1.8. Just putting that out there.
okay.
I did
But,
want
al-
Let
but also,
this is Hal. Let me interrupt for a minute, okay?
yes,
The thing is, if you notice, if you go through our community, there's almost no sidewalks all over the place, right? And there's ditches and stuff like that. Since 1978 or whenever that master plan went in, almost all these properties that have been split, in addition to this one, I mean, the one I live on, everything around me is like that. They're real narrow properties and that. But almost all these properties are flagged because every property down the road, if the county decides and somebody comes in and starts building sidewalks and that, all these properties are going to have to put sidewalks in. And you're talking thousands of dollars. So even though it may say it's a 1 acre RD5 or Ag 2, no Ag 2, I guarantee almost every Ag 2 property in Rio Linda is not a net of 2 acres. Because almost everyone's going to have to put sidewalks or road improvements one day whenever that happens. Hopefully it'll never happen, but that's just the way it is, that no property you see is going to be a net of the actual zoning of Ag 2 or 10 or whatever it is. Anyway, just go ahead, Chris.
Thanks for clarifying that. To address some of the concerns that I read about today, one concern was the drainage impact on the surrounding neighbors and properties and what that would do to them, and what if there is a plan or there has been an environmental impact report, maybe to ease some of their concerns or address those concerns.
The county and the state have a zero impact on drainage, so no drainage off the property. That's county code and state.
The parcel map that's up right now, are those elevations that are on there, the dotted lines?
that is
So there would
correct.
be,
Those are contour lines, yes.
so there would be no difference in the elevations as far as water runoff goes. I'm trying to address those concerns for the people that wrote about them. So
I understand, and they're valid concerns. So what happens now is we'll have to do a grading plan, which is submitted to Water Resources. And if there's any increased runoff, we have to deal with that and retain it. So there are new requirements. Also the LID, which are the Light Improvement Development Standards. So there's all kinds of new things that have come on the horizon here within about the last 2 or 3 years. So there will be no adverse flooding or drainage impacts for the people downstream or upstream. In other words, we're not going to block any drainage that comes onto our property, and we're not going to increase the drainage flow from our property that goes downstream. That's all reviewed by Sacramento County Water Resources.
okay. And then I think the other concern was the additional wells that would be put in there, and the concern is the water supply to the other residents that have wells themselves. Has there been any studies done on the amount of water and how it would affect the neighboring parcels?
That may all be reviewed by Environmental Management Division, but the properties are large enough to provide for the minimum separation for the wells, the septic systems, and the leach pits. So that'll all be part of the design where someone is actually going to get a building permit, and you have to meet all those requirements.
Okay, thank you. Those are all the questions that I have for now.
Okay, let's move on to Roy. You have any questions?
No questions. My concerns are basically the narrowness of the lots and the depth of the lots. We've worked real hard over the years to get rid of these long, narrow lots. It does not meet the frontage to depth ratio that the county requires. And they're not, there's only one that meets the 2-acre lot. The other 3 are not. So but I don't have any questions at this point.
Okay.
But it does not meet doesn't meet what the community wanted back in 1978 and 79 when we did this rezoning.
Okay, thank you, Roy. Bob, you there?
Yeah.
Robert
No,
here, Bob? Okay.
I'm here.
Do you have any?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Bob.
Okay, my only concern, well, I agree with Roy that I think the neighborhood ambiance should be embraced and try to be maintained. And then on the other issue of where I'm involved is the water issue. And as I understand it, there is an ordinance in Sacramento. Any property less than 2 acres has to be hooked up to the municipal system. And so the idea of wells is moot because they're going to have to hook up to reel into water.
Let me ask you a question. When did that change? Because as long as they're 150 feet away from any other type of services, they can put a well in. So let's ask Nate. You have any comments on the well thing on a 2-acre parcel?
It's my understanding. I can't speak directly for the water resource environmental health. That is accurate. 2 acres is generally the minimum lot size, as well as there is a requirement that if you're too far from water, you needn't pull it, an extensive lengths. And I don't believe that 16th Street is plumbed. I don't believe there's any municipal or county provided water there. Therefore, I think the well option would be something feasible. Per the agent's point, it would be reviewed for compliance.
Okay, thank you.
Let me interject there.
Go ahead, Bob.
There's a well, Real Into Water has a well on U Street between 10th and 16th, which is just slightly north of this property.
Okay, Bob, go ahead.
That was the extent of my concerns.
Okay, thank you. Amy?
Are there any plans to subdivide these properties any further for ADUs, things like that?
No, in order to do that, we would have to submit for a rezone application. And I know the folks in Rio Linda well enough that would not happen. No, they will not be rezoned.
Yeah.
All right. And my only other concern is, again, the water issue. How many, I know the area, but I couldn't, see in my mind, how many of those parcels have livestock that are surrounding this parcel in question?
To be honest, I drove through there and I didn't see any livestock. You know, it's,
My concern is kind of the water issue as well. Making sure that we don't have shallow wells and or we're not over pumping by adding, 4 new wells within this area for the water table.
again, that'll be reviewed by the Environmental Management Division. They've got strict guidelines along with the state guidelines. So, the individual builders will have to meet those requirements.
Right. And then my only other concern is that, and several people have mentioned it already, is that, we're looking at the code and it says 2 acres. And, if we get into dividing things up, we're not going with the spirit of what the community wants.
I do agree with you, but the zoning code in section 6.4.6.H.2H allows, as long as you are within no more than 10% reduction. And I didn't do the calculation, but I think Nate did. We're within 1%. So I think that provision was probably put in the zoning code that if you're close, that you would be considered to be close enough.
Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you.
Okay, and thank you, Amy. I don't think our Tanya Silva is not here. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. Just my comments is one, there's zero runoff when they build on this property, which again is, water resources is in charge of that. The one thing about these lots, there's dozens or hundreds maybe of these size lots here in Rio Linda that are real deep like this. I know we call them landlocked kind of. The most that gets built on it is 2 houses, which is any property above half acre or more, you can have 2 houses on it. So a lot of these ag / 2 acres have 2 houses on them eventually. Again, with the zero runoff. In the 25 plus years that I've been on the CPAC, I don't think I've ever seen any divide of 10 acres, or 8 to 10 acres, 4 acres, whatever, or even larger, that's had any of the parcels that were exactly 2 acres. That majority of the time, I think we've gone down to anywhere from, I think maybe 1.8 or something like that. Might be the smallest in a 2 acre, alleged 2 acre parcel. So this does fit within the guidelines that I've seen in this community. And like I said, the street widening, sidewalks and something, almost any property that's been divided since 70, what Roy said, 75 to 78, somewhere in there, 79, when they did that general plan, almost every property has been flagged one way or another, so that one day, like mine, I know that one day I may have to put a sidewalk in, and I don't want that to happen. For one, it changes the look of our community. We are trying to stay rural, which I really love. The properties around me, I think I said earlier, are all landlocked properties. We're real narrow in the front, 100 to 130, I think a couple of them. and anywhere from 200 to 600 feet deep. And I kind of like that because there's a lot of us have maybe two houses, and I can see out my window, I can see the horses or cows or pigs or chickens, whatever animals are behind me. I really love that. I can see across the street where there's fields on some of these properties where they didn't build, and I see pheasants all the time, well, in season. So I don't really have a problem with this. I think it does fit. I do love the fact that our county, the state, and everybody has a zero water runoff, especially in Rio Linda where we're used to flooding. And I don't think we flood as bad as we did 10, 15 years ago. And I know that I've always been one that when we do this kind of stuff, I watch and see, and I know the neighbors, I've been contacted by neighbors, there's a few that I could tell you about, that where they did stuff that wasn't right and it didn't cause a zero runoff, and the neighbors call, we check on it, and there's been some named projects around here that have been busted for not doing what they were supposed to as far as zero runoff, and now they definitely have zero runoff. So I rely on our community to let us know when things aren't kosher, such as removing trees that shouldn't be removed, that kind of stuff. So I know Richard's been doing projects in this community for at least the 25 years that I've been involved in CPAC, probably longer. So I know he does a great job, and I have no problem with recommending that we approve this project as presented. So I'm making a motion to approve the project as presented. And I call for a second from anyone.
No. You asked
Was that a second
more
from?
I'd like to add something before you ask for a vote.
Yeah, I would like
Sure,
more
go ahead,
discussion.
Roy. Go ahead. Roy, go.
I'm sorry, this is
Okay.
Alma from the clerk's office. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just want to make sure you'll need to take public comment before you can vote on the item.
Oh, okay. I didn't know there was anybody else on the phone. Sorry.
Yeah. There are three
Okay, let's
members signed
go
up.
ahead. County call public comment.
Well, no. I want to say something first.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Hal?
Yes.
Okay. Before you call for a vote, I just want to make the statement that I was on the CPAC when they did this planning back in 78, 79. The
Right.
community was totally upset. We had many people show up. They wouldn't all fit in the community center, much less the depot center, fighting to keep this area rural and agricultural. It is basically agricultural, just not to this property. There's a cattle ranch between 16th and 9th Avenue, 16th Street and 9th Street on Alberta Road, just not to this property. It is a cattle ranch. Whether there's any animals maintaining around that property, I'm not certain. But it does not meet the water 2 acres minimum for wells that the county requires. The frontage to depth does not meet the standards. I've read the letters from the 6 neighbors who say no to this property with good reason for this special. There are provisions to exceptions to every rule. He's asking for exceptions, which in this case, I personally don't think are warranted because I want to keep this area rural, just as the community wanted to keep it rural. There may not be animals today, but the next owner here, or the owner currently, may decide to have animals in that case. So if this were to be divided into 3 parcels, 2 fronting and 1 rear parcel, where it met the depth ratio and all that, and come closer to meeting the county requirements, I would be in favor. But the way it is today, I personally
Okay, this would be part of discussion after we get a second. or not a second. Then we would go to discussion and you make the comment. So we should probably go to public comments first and then
Okay.
come back to this, Roy. Okay?
Okay.
So let's go ahead and public comments then. Any public comments?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, Chairperson Morris, this is Alma from the clerk's office. We have, the first commenter is Karen, and I will share my screen so that we can see the timer, and I'll let Ms. Karen know that she can start her public comment. You have 3 minutes. Please start your public comment.
Okay, this is Karen Robinson. I actually live across from the property at 7398. My husband and I have been there for 35 years, and when the property was sold, I understand, it is big enough for 3 houses, and obviously that's kind of how we are set up out there with the AR2. That's the whole purpose of us being on this street. And most of the people on this street have been here for a long time. I guess my biggest thing is I feel like we're discussing a subdivision for parcels, and I'm sure they're going to be beautiful homes. I've met the people. I'm not per se concerned about that as much. But if we make exceptions now, then are we going to turn around on the next sale and make another exception? So I guess my biggest concern, because I've been there for 35 years, is when people say there isn't any runoff. I guess you haven't been on our street. That property has not been touched. I've been there 35 years. I believe the gentleman that passed away shortly after we were there and had moved in, he had been there for probably 6 years. So that means that property, nothing's been done to it for 80, 90 years. So you start, building and doing things and changing things. You're not going to know what's going to happen until you start doing that. So when they talk about making provisions, if it does happen, I guess I need to have that writing so it doesn't flow over to my side. So, the 3 houses, I guess, is just kind of the way it is, and I understand that. But to add a 4th in, I don't know. I'm very concerned in having 4 wells put in, when we've already lost a lot of the table of our water. I think they need to have somebody come out and tell me how deep that is, because you need to check on the property, maybe on the south side of this property that used to belong to the same owner. They subdivided that, and see how far they had to go down. So everybody knows what kind of drought that we've had, and I'm not quite sure where our water table is right now. And if you've been down our street and you haven't seen any animals, you might want to drive down it again, because there's not too many places on our street that we don't have horses or mules or what have you. There's a lot of action, and I have a pasture, with horses out front, so I'm not quite sure. So I'm just kind of, I don't see any positive of the 4. And in the future, if there is runoff, we've just been lucky this winter. But I've been through at least 1 flood and had moved in just right after the flood before that. So, and that's what I have to say.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you. Hey, let me make one comment for everybody, because there may be people that don't know, but 16th Street, unless they've changed this, which I doubt, 16th Street is scheduled to be 4 lanes one day. So that anybody that has maybe a 2-acre parcel or 8-acre parcel or whatever, you're going to be losing quite frontage on your property. So it's going to go to 4 lanes one day. Hopefully not, but that's in the master plan. Anyway, go ahead.
Are you ready for the next public commenter?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'm sorry, you'll need to turn the meeting down in the background.
I'm just trying to hear what he's saying before I speak.
Okay, but you can't have it in the background and make your comment. So if you could turn the meeting back down in the background, and then you can start your public comment.
Yeah, we do. Okay, so I'm ready to start.
Yes, go ahead.
My name is Jenny Moser. I am adamantly opposed to the proposal for this variance. It's not consistent with our neighborhood. I'm financially invested in this neighborhood as I own 2 parcels here, and I live on this street, so it's my quality of life and my neighbors. I would point out that no other parcel on this street, which is all greater than 2 acres and up to 10 acres, no other parcel has more than 2 houses on it. Putting 4 houses on a parcel in this neighborhood on less than 8 acres is the equivalent of creating a subdivision, which detracts from the whole rural lifestyle that we've all moved here for. Reducing the zoning from AR2 and decreasing the setbacks from the property line increases the likelihood that new residents are going to be affected by the smells, noises, and insects that go along with the livestock that are in close contact with these properties. To the gentleman who said he saw no livestock, there are horses and mules directly across the street from this property. There are sheep, goats, chickens, and pigs 1 parcel over from this property. There's no precedent for this change at this time, other than the financial gain of the applicant. It will come at the cost of quality of life for the rest of us and for the greater Rio Linda community that has a rural identity. I would say that the provision, to the comment that the provision is so close that it can be considered approved, if it did not require this process to make the change, then I guess what I'm trying to say is just because you're within some kind of percentage of being able to be considered to change does not mean you don't have to go through this process for change, and does not mean that the change is a good idea or is valuable for everybody. And to the comment about this is very close to the development on 14th Street, this is not on 14th Street. This is on 16th Street. They are different areas. And, you know, if someone wants to change the variance, you should only be able to build what you bought the property as is, and not change the AR2 to for your financial gain and against everybody else who's maintained this rural. We've all adhered to the current restrictions. Thank you.
Thank you.
I got a question. First, hi Jenny, how are you? But aren't you kitty corner from the Alberta Villages? Jenny? Anyway, on U and 16th on that northwest corner is Alberta Villages, which is going to be anywhere from RD5 and higher. So just a comment for those that don't know. Anyway, please go ahead and call the next person. Am I still on? Did I get lost? Is anybody there? I do now. Oh, okay.
Chairperson,
I couldn't hear anybody.
Chairperson Morris, Kimberly is on the line, and so she's going to start to make her public comment, okay? Go ahead, Kimberly.
Good evening. My name's Kimberly Felix. I live at 7340 14th Street, so I back up directly to this property. And if it is split into 4 parcels, at least 2 of the parcels will back up to my property. So I am extremely affected by this potential split. I find it really frustrating to hear people who don't live on this property talk about that there will not be a drainage issue when they have never been on this property or seen the drainage issue. Every project that has been done in the most recent years has had to fight with the county about drainage issues because we recently put an ADU on our property and the county wanted to tell us that we were going to have to do a ditch at the front of our property to drain to a ditch. We had to remind them that there is no ditch, that there's a natural drainage system. So even dealing with the county about what the drainage issue is was a complete headache. There's a natural drainage that runs along the back of our property to our neighbors and across and under 14th Street. So these 4 houses will most certainly affect that natural drainage because it all drains to the back of my property. There is livestock on this strip of land. There's livestock at my neighbor's property. There's livestock several streets down. So I'm not sure why you did not see livestock, but we have lots of livestock on the street. I purchased my property in September of 2020. I purchased in this area because I like the rural feel. I like having large open lots. I understand, like the previous commenter, that we have no grounds to object to 3 houses, but keep it at 3 houses. There's no reason why we need an additional 4th. I saw in the application that the reason was citing the housing shortage. There are currently 38 houses for sale in Rio-Linda and Alberta. There is no housing shortage in Rio-Linda, Alberta. If people want to buy a house, there are houses available. Your 1 extra house is not going to solve this housing shortage. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next person.
I'll be getting the next caller. Hold on. Chairperson Morris.
Okay.
Public comment, sir.
Okay.
That's all the comments?
I live directly across from the property there that we're talking about tonight. First of all, I'd like to address the contour map and the draining situation. It's obvious by the contour lines that water on that property is going to go somewhere. It goes to the east, it goes to the south, it goes to the west. I'm greatly impacted here in this area because overall 1/3 of my property I can't do anything with, and it has flooded recently with the recent storms. And development of that property across the street will only add to that. I would dispute any figures that were presented by the applicant. They may look good on a spreadsheet, but they don't look proper in real life. A 1,500 feet radius, and he's counting 92 properties. A simple look at the map, I think, would dispute that. Again, maintaining the integrity of the zoning is a primary concern. As the others have already expressed, we didn't buy properties to be in a housing development, and don't wish that to happen. I don't know, 4 skinny lots put on that property. It goes back to the issue of net use versus gross use, whatever it may be. But with the high tension power lines that bisect that property, I think we're looking at a lot less net than what we're seeing in the figures, at least percentage wise. Um, yeah, I just don't see what the necessary, while it's necessary to cram 4 lots under and divert from the zoning, we can do this with 3 lots, address the runoff situation, address the infrastructure, and it's no longer an issue as far as 3 versus 4 or the zoning. To be honest, I don't even know why we're discussing it. Nobody wants it. It shouldn't be done. It doesn't benefit anybody in the community. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Chairperson Morris, I do have one more person signed up to speak, so I'll be getting them on the line.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Chairperson Morris, the person is on the line. You can go ahead and start your public comment, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, my name is Jim Popper, and I live right next door to the north. As it stands right now, without anything being done to that property, the water from both sides from rain runoff runs right into my driveway, and there's a probably an 8-inch pipe that runs underneath the street over to the east side of the property. And from there, I don't know where it goes. But when we have a substantial amount of rain, my driveway floods as it is right now. And the property right next door runs down to my house out in front. Second of all, 3 houses, there ain't nothing I can do about that. But 4 houses, I'm really worried about the water table. And with 4 septic systems, that's contamination for groundwater. Nobody's mentioned on 14th Street, they're on public water and sewer system. We don't have that on 16th. We're all on well and septic. So by you guys saying that this is going to be 4 lanes out here, that isn't going to come anytime soon. Because I know I've already talked to the Board of Supervisors, and to run 16th Street from Q Street to Alberta has to be an elevated roadway. And that is going to cost a lot of money, and I don't see that happening in a near future. So I'm opposed to it. There isn't anything I can do about 3 lots, but 4, no, I'm opposed to it. So that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Chairperson Morris, we have another caller, so just hold on a moment, please. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You can go ahead and start your public comment. You have 3 minutes. Ma'am?
Yes, I'm on?
Yes, go ahead.
Great. Hi, my name is Tracy. I live on 16th Street. I live at 7440. It's unclear to me why there is the need to develop this parcel to 4 lots instead of 3 and follow its original zoning. So it seems to me that the zoning right requires 2-acre parcels, which four subdivided lots does not fit into. Those parcels would be smaller. So it's requiring this special development permit. I've heard no explanation for why there's a need for a special development permit for 4 lots instead of 3. So I think it would be really helpful if someone could speak to that and clarify. It seems to me for a special development permit, there should be pretty strong reason for why that there's a need for that special development permit instead of just following the formal zoning. There's the zoning in this area is there for a reason, as some earlier speakers had attested to. So it's just unclear to me why there should be strong justification for issuance of that special development permit. As many speakers and commenters have already said, one of the reasons we moved to this area was for the rural agricultural feel. There is lots of livestock in this area. It's unclear to me why the developer didn't see that. So although I can understand that maybe you don't have strong grounds for preventing the division of the lot, for subdividing the lot, I'm not clear as to why there should be allowance for a special development permit. I've heard no argument for that. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chairperson Morris, that was the last person signed up to make public comment.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's do this then. I would like to hear anybody that wants to make a motion either to deny or approve this project.
Chairperson Morris, you already made the motion you made a motion. So we need either a second.
No, actually, because I didn't go to public comment, so.
Okay, so you're withdrawing.
Withdraw it because I went out of order on it.
Okay.
I forgot that there was public comment available.
Thank you.
So what I'm doing is I'm requesting for a motion either to approve or deny from anyone.
This is Member McCandless. I'd like to make a motion that we deny this application.
Okay, there's a motion to deny the application as presented. Is there a second?
I second. Member Tackett.
Okay, Tackett seconds the motion. Okay, any further discussion from the council?
I have one comment, Hal. You had mentioned the fact that Alberta Villages has been approved, and honestly, I feel like that's all the more reason to hold our zoning precedent for the AR2 and not allow even a small percentage less than that to go through, because as you said, we've got already a subdevelopment happening just north of this street. And like everybody else has said, why not just go with the 3? Because you're allowed to do that. Instead, 4 is not benefiting anybody in the community except for the applicant. That's all I have.
Cool. Okay, then any other comments from the council? Okay, Roy?
Okay, I made most of my comments before, but I'll just quickly reiterate and add a couple. It's less than the 2 acres required for the zoning. Not in accordance with the county for 2 acres for water. It does not meet the county length, width, and length requirements. We're talking about 4 acres, 4 properties and 4 houses here to this whole meeting. We must remember that the governor says you can build a second dwelling on practically any property that fits
8 houses.
Yep. So technically here, we're looking at 8 houses, not 4.
Yep.
Okay, let's see. There are exceptions to every rule. We've had in the past, we've done a lot of approvals for special development permits. My first opinion is special development permits can be approved if it benefits the community. This project, as it sets today, does not benefit the community. Directly opposite of what the entire community wanted when we set up this plan in 1978, 1979. All the members disagree with that. So I have to acknowledge the neighbors and the entire community in saying this does not fit for special development permit that would benefit the property.
Okay, thank you, Roy. Anybody else?
I would just like to say that our fellow residents who called in spoke so eloquently. I don't know if there's any more that I can add, but I do have concerns about the environmental impact of this building project. And also, if we give a little wiggle, we are heading towards a slippery slope. So those are my concerns.
Okay. Thank you. And I'm going to call for a vote, but we need to do a roll call vote since we're on the phone. So if the county clerk can call for a roll call vote, please, on denying the application as presented. Okay, anybody still there?
Yanni still there?
Hello? Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you, Hal.
Hi, sorry, one moment. There's some technical difficulties.
Okay. All right, so what we want is the county to
Hi,
do
this
a
is Rochelle
roll
from
call.
Clerk of the Boards. It looks like we have
Okay.
some audio issues. I can't currently hear anybody at the moment. Can you all hear me?
Okay,
Looks like
yeah,
we're having
this
some
is
technical
Hal.
difficulties. On my end, I cannot hear
This is Hal Morris. I can hear you.
participants speaking at the moment.
Can you hear me?
Hmm?
Okay, this is Hal. Test 1, 2, 3. Can the county hear me?
Yes, give us
Yeah.
one moment. Alma's going to come in and take over real quick.
Okay. Yeah, good.
Hello, Chairperson Morris. I'm so sorry. I guess Rochelle's having some technical difficulty. So I have a motion
Not a
to
problem.
deny. The motion was made by Member McCandless and the second by Member Tackett. And I will take the roll call vote. Member Hickey,
Emphatically, no.
you're voting
So it
against.
would be an aye. It would be an aye to deny.
Right. You're
Deny.
so you're
Yeah,
voting
So
yes to the motion
No.
to deny.
The motion to reject is a yes.
Okay, thank you.
there you go.
I'll vote to
Okay,
reject the project.
Member McCandless,
Yes.
Member Reisig,
Aye to deny.
Member Tackett,
Aye to deny.
Member Morris.
Aye.
And the
So
motion
the motion
carries
carries
with Member Silva being
5-0.
absent. Thank you. And the next item on the agenda is a staff update.
This is Jessica Brandt from Planning and Environmental Review. There is no staff update from our department. Thank you.
Thank you. And motion or the next item is a council member comments.
This is Hal. We haven't had a Dry Creek Parkway meeting in several months, so I have nothing to report on that. So anybody else that's on something that would like to report, I guess I'll call it Chris. I know you're on a lot of stuff.
Yes. There's a
Make it brief, though. Make it brief.
Oh, come on, Hal. You can't cut me off like that.
Oh, you're done? Okay, cool.
December 11th is a really busy day in our town. Come see Santa. The Christmas light parade. It's going to be a big to-do. And if you want to be a part of our next theater production for Arlect. We are doing an open casting December 14th and 16th. There you go, brief.
Thank you. Amy, are you on anything you'd like to make a comment about? Any committees of any sort?
I am not, although I work with the 4-H Alberta, Green Acres Alberta. So this is the big day of giving. So 4-H.
Cool. Thank you.
Who is that on? Who is that on the 4?
Roy?
Who is that on the 4-H?
Member Tackett.
Who is it?
Amy Tackett.
Amy. Hi, Amy. You're new
Hey
to the
there.
board. And I
Yes.
got really excited. Glad you're on the board with us. And
Thank
my
you.
daughter is Jean.
Oh,
Sorry.
yes. Yes.
Glad you're with us.
Okay, Roy, any comments other?
No comments.
Okay, Bob,
glad
I
to
know
be
you're
here.
on a couple things.
There's really nothing happening. The water board is very boring these days, and I like it that way after this summer. So
Yeah,
other
don't
than
talk
that,
about raising water rates.
well, I'll tell you how. You probably didn't see my
No.
Facebook post, but it was a rate restructuring. My water bill last month was $15 less than normal. So take a
Wow.
look at your bill and see if you're above or below.
Yeah. Thank you for that report, Bob.
Anytime.
And that concludes.
Tell Bob my vacant house went to $150 for 2 months.
Roy,
Okay,
we've got a
well-
device you can put on your water meter and you can monitor the use and find out where that water's going.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, we're gonna. We'll,
Chairperson Morris, there's one more item before you adjourn. That is the public comments, and we do not have any off-agenda public comments.
you
want to
said
make-
no public. You said
Yes.
there's no public comments.
Yes, sir. I just want to make sure we got that in the record. No
Okay.
off-agenda public comments, yes.
All right. Well, then that concludes our meeting tonight. And I will thank everybody and adjourn our meeting at 8:33, maybe something like that.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good Christmas. Have a good
Night.
Christmas and New Year's.